always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. And you know what? We need to talk about what is going to happen in Block 2 of 49ers training camp. So Week 2, what is going to happen? They've had the day off. Now they're getting back at it. And let's see how this is going to go. And I know we have a lot of things that we're going to bring up that is going to be expected this week at training camp.
There's a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of things that we need to see as commentators on YouTube and podcast hosts. And then there's a lot of things that 49ers fans want to see. And where do those worlds collide? And what are the things that we actually need to be watching for? What do we actually need to be expecting? Because there's going to be a lot of people talking about different things. Obviously, the quarterback controversy and the quarterback matchup and competition there with Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. But we're going to dive in a little bit deeper and talk about more than just that and a lot of things that you can expect and you should be looking forward to. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you're notified when all of this great content comes out, because there's a lot that we're going to talk about, and there's a lot of things that we're going to cover. And the channel is always growing and expanding and adding new things. You don't want to miss any of it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to miss anything. You want to be here for all of it. And one thing I'm here all for is pads, because that is what is coming. It is time to kick the tires and light the fires, because it is time for pads, and that means hitting. That means actual football. They've got through the acclimation, part of the training camp. That is what they have to do because of the NFL and the players' agreement. This is what is expected. All the players now have their legs underneath them, or for the most part. And we're going to get into pads, and that's when you're going to see a lot of different things. You're going to see the offensive line be able to engage these defenders a little bit better. They're going to be able to get into their chest plate, so you're going to see better matchups. I am curious to see how it goes, though. That's a key matchup that I'm looking forward to, is the offensive line versus the defensive line. Also, before I move too far on, they're going to be finishing the install process. They're going to install it. I'm sure it's going to finish out over the next few practices, and then they will move on. And then that's when the creativity of the offense and the games between offense and defense will come. Right now, it's more planned out. Later on, it won't be. So that's when the chess match will happen between Alex Mack and Fred Warner.
I'm really looking forward to that chess match, especially. But yes, the big things are O-line and pads going up against this D-line and actually getting to see these groups going full speed and not having a disadvantage one way or the other. O-line has a little bit of a disadvantage without pads, less to grab onto, a lot harder to get and hold guys in space and get the blocks and secure and get guys turned, because you don't have that chest plate to grab onto. You don't have that control that you typically have. Now, the advantage is gone for the defense. O-line gets a little bit of an edge up now, and now you get to see the Contavious Streets of the world who's been having success early. Well, now you're going up against a fully padded, has everything he needs to grab onto Alex Mack and inside guys in Lakeland Tomlinson, right? And whether it's Banks or Brunskill, whoever it ends up being on the right side. You get to see all those things. You get to continue to see the development also of these guys that have been dealing with their maintenance days and their injuries and things of that nature, and just trying to keep those guys healthy. You get to see those things coming into fruition, and the potential additions of Richie James and Emmanuel Mosley and the guys who've been on the COVID list, if they're able to get off of it and get back into practice here coming up soon. You get to see all of these things. Those are all things that you can expect from this team. And you had brought up and talked about the matchup between Fred Warner, Alex Mack, Mike McDaniels, DeMeco Ryans. This is the thing that everyone should be getting excited about, the most exciting about. You're going to be finishing install. The base is going to be in. That doesn't mean that the playbook's all the way in. It means the base stuff that they need to be able to do and run is in. Everyone knows it. Everyone's comfortable with it. Now the creativity starts.
Yes.
Mike McDaniel is going to get his opportunity to test, well, along with Kyle Shanahan, but to test, right, DeMeco Ryans, and you get to see the creativity and the things that DeMeco Ryans wants to start doing with his defense coming into the fold and coming into the light. What is this new look defense going to look like? What creative schemes and designs and blitzes does he have? How much is Freddie Warner being used in the blitz? How much is he being used in the pass? What is the overall new look going to be for this defense? That is the thing I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to clear up right before I get into this is it wasn't Richie James on the COVID. It's Jawan Jennings.
Jawan Jennings, my apologies.
Good
catch.
Just so that way, we make it clear. But
catch.
Yes, that is going to be exciting because once you have the install, then they can start doing all kinds of fun stuff and creative stuff with the offense and defense. Then the chess match begins. That's when you'll be able to see these guys really get into it. the 49ers offense will be able to run outside zone, inside zone, gap scheme, really try to confuse these guys and put the offensive linemen finally in positions to be successful moving forward. When you're moving forward as an offensive lineman, it's easier to play that way. It's easier to be more successful. That right now the defenders have been able to get off the ball quick, get into their face, and they haven't been able to do much about it. They don't have the pads. You've seen them off balance. All that stuff is normal. But now you're going to get to see these running backs, how they operate in this offense, how they're able to make their cuts, which linebackers are able to fill and stop them. So it's going to be a great chess match, and finally we're going to be able to see how each player is responding to what they've already learned as far as base techniques and how they're learning as far as picking up the install. Now we get into real football. Now we get to see who's running great, who has great vision, which linebacker is stepping up. There's like a lot of great comparisons and matchups that we get to see, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm really excited to get into that. I think right now it's all been just going through the motions, and when you get into actual week 2, when you're getting into football pads, this is when the real stuff happens.
Agreed. This is like a mini midterm. If you're looking at it in terms of schooling, this is like a mini midterm. This is that preparation for the big sort of test here in the middle of training camp when you're getting closer to having to make cuts and things of that nature and those decisions. You're going to start putting people in positions to evaluate and look at their decision-making process, what they're doing, how they're able to react on the fly and adjust on the fly, and how it translates, right? How the base that you've established and that you've worked on, how it translates now to live game action when you have a plan, right? You have an idea of what you want to do, and then someone does something different, or a team adjusts on the fly, and now you have to try and adjust on the fly. And maybe, you're not being asked to adjust necessarily in terms of your performance immediately as it happens, but you need to be able to come back to the huddle and go, hey, coach, I'm seeing this. We've been working on this. I'm seeing this. I think we need to do this. Or, hey, we're doing this. I'm seeing this. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? Being able to adjust and understand what's happening and adapt. That's where these sorts of little tests are now going to start to come in. And you're going to see guys shining, and you're going to see guys faltering. You don't need to panic if you see guys faltering, because if they're able to course correct, and fix the things that are going wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. It's a person who understands what's going on. They can see it happening. They can have the conversations that they need to have. They can get coached up, and then they can go execute after being coached up. As a coach, that's what you want out of your players. You want coachable guys who are smart, intelligent, understand what's going on, and can course correct when things don't go the way they're supposed to.
Mistakes are not the problem. It's
Correct.
Consistently making mistakes that's the problem.
Bingo.
It's all about consistency, and you want these guys to play well. And there's going to be a lot of things that are going on, and there are a lot of things that people have to read. And I think I'm excited to see how Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo respond to blitzes and people being in their face, and now making the proper reads. When you get a more complex defense and you're starting to get shell coverages and stuff, that is when things are really going to make a difference. Right now at the install, you can see what they're doing, right? You see the single high safety, you know what you're getting. So your reads are a little bit more defined. Later on, it's not going to be there. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. And you saw that as training camp week 1 went. It got a little bit more complicated, especially for Jimmy Garoppolo going against this very talented first team. They're doing a little bit more, I'm sure, in the install process because they understand it a little bit better. How Trey responds as well is going to be something I'm interested in, because if Trey responds at a high level and is finding the right receivers and reading the blitz and is able to come out of the huddle with the 2 plays and get the 49ers into the right play, he's going to close the gap on this. If he doesn't and he's having the same rookie kind of mishaps, then we know that this is still Jimmy's still going to be operating this team, and he's still going to be far ahead. That is one of the big questions going to be answered, because really, Trey Lance is very talented. Anything he does with the ball is going to look great, but now it's can he get it to the right spots at the right times against the defense that he's looking at.
And it's not just being able to make the right throws, it's being able to getting this team in and out of the right sets. You saw what happened last year in the struggles with the run game when you don't have a quarterback who understands, hey, I need to check out of this run to this, or hey, they're showing this look. I have this run called. This run doesn't work. My second play was a pass. We need to go to that. I need to check to that pass because this run's just not there. Or if there's a call to flip it to the other side and maybe get a different matchup, you got to, as a quarterback, you have to know when to do that and when not to. When should I be checking in and out of things, and when do I just sit pat with what we have? Last year, we had a quarterback who we thought, in Nick Mullins, was comfortable enough to check in and out of stuff. Turns out that wasn't the case. Not the case at all whatsoever. And a lot of times, he put Trent Williams, he put Mike McGlinchey, he put Langston Tomlinson, he put Daniel Brunskill. He just put our offensive linemen in positions that it was just going to be too difficult to make the block that we were asking them to make, which now makes the run game stagnant. And now we have to rely on the pass. Everyone knows the pass is coming. And now the quarterback's job's 10 times harder than it needs to be. If Trey Lance can get us in and out of plays and in and out of the right calls, then yeah, not only is he closing the gap, you'll probably start to see him at some point in the near future taking first team reps, because you can do it against the second team. That's great. Can you execute against the first team?
Right.
That's a completely different story. And the great news for 49ers fans and for Trey Lance himself is, if he gets first team reps and looks great against the first team, we're in business, folks. We're in business because this is one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, and I'm also curious. Another aspect of that will be how Alex Mack and the chemistry with the offensive line goes. Right, he's going to be putting people in the right positions, reading those complex blitzes that we expect from DeMeco Ryans. With the multitude of guys with different skill sets on this front line, is going to be a huge test for this offense. We know what we're getting from Trent Williams, but how are these other guys going to respond, and how are they going to work together? Because no position group has to work together better than an offensive line.
Accurate.
They have to be able to pass off guys. They have to be able to realize who's coming, who's twisting, what stunts are coming. All that stuff is important. And the fact that he's a veteran, he understands this. He'll be able to make the right calls, but it's going to be a little bit of a game between him and Fred Warner. And just picking up how these guys are able to move together, flow together, get that chemistry is going to be important, because we all know that if we give clean pockets to Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, they're going to be really successful. If they don't, and they're getting pushed back, or they're struggling to pick up this great defensive line, that might be a little bit of a problem for the 49ers going into the year, because that was a problem last year. So that is something that's going to be important, not only in the run game, but the pass game as well. Both of those areas, the continuity between these guys is going to be fun to watch, and also what Alex Mack brings to the offense overall. I know Mike McGlinchey thinks he's a huge impact on the offense. I believe he is too.
I agree with you, and I think you've seen a lot of the changes already with some of these guys. Mac talking about in his press conference, he just looks so comfortable here in San Francisco, and he talked about how much he loved having the fresh start and being here with Kyle again. But even him, he talked about having to learn some new things and learning new verbiage, taking notes, all of this stuff. So you can't expect any of these rookies to come in and have a full grasp of this, whether that's Ambry Thomas, whether it's Deommodore Lenoir, Trey Sermon, right? Trey Lance, Jalen Moore, Talanoa Hufanga. You just can't expect them to come in and have a full grasp of what the system entails, what is expected, and where they're supposed to be at all times. Mack is a center in this league, a veteran center who's played a lot of downs in this league, a lot of snaps in this league, a lot of games in this league, played at a high level and been one of the better centers in the league for a very long time. He's still having to learn some things and clean things up. Rookies are going to be in the same boat. Don't expect these rookies in week 2 to have everything dialed in and cleaned up either. It may take them 3 or 4 weeks of this, maybe even into the second game of training camp, before they're really, really comfortable in this system with this team, with their teammates on the field.
Yeah, I also am going to be looking forward to seeing how much the running game changes, depending on who's in there and how they're operating in the system. How much times they're going vertical, how many times they're, running that gap or inside zone scheme. I am curious to see all that against live action, because we do have a linebacker group that they do a good job filling in the middle. But if we get to second level, what is it going to look like?
Yeah.
Because right now you have the big guys inside, Kinlaw, Zach Kerr, DJ Jones. It should be hard to run in the middle. If the 49ers offense is able to run the ball up the middle against this great defense, it's going to be a little bit harder or side to side, because of the way the defense is built. They're super fast and able to get there, but go straight up the field. That'll be a telling sign about our offense. I think it's a little bit of a sign about the defense, but I think that would just go to show how great the offense actually will be running the ball up the middle.
Yeah, that vertical run game is important. It's something that we're focusing on, and I want to see what it looks like against this front seven, against that front four. And obviously, you want to see Kinlaw out there, but don't expect a lot of these guys. That's one thing you can expect to not expect, is don't expect some of these guys who are taking their maintenance days to be out there full padded going with these 11-on-11 drills. No. Don't expect them to take a single snap right now. It's just not going to happen. This is going to be, week 2 is going to be a great, great opportunity for 49ers fans and this coaching staff to get a look at their young pieces, to get a look at these other guys on the roster going up against elite talent. Getting your Contavious Streets of the world, your Arden Keys, your Maurice Hurst, if he's good to go and healthy, going up against your front O-line, those 5 guys up there that are your starters, right? Getting a good look of Deommodore Lenoir going up against, potentially, slot guys, putting them up against a veteran presence in Jordan Matthews at the tight end position. There's tons of things that you can look forward to. Veteran guys going up against young guys stepping in and potentially getting some reps early with the first team. Don't be surprised if you get some of that, and then don't be surprised also if they falter a little bit. Verrett talked about this a lot in his press conference too. You're going to make mistakes as a corner, and you brought this up in our live stream. You're going to make mistakes. It's not about the mistakes you make. It's about consistency. How consistently you're in the right spot. The more comfortable these young guys get, the more comfortable some of these other guys get, the more chances and opportunities they're going to get. And if you're the defense, especially the cornerback position, that's a room that's questionable for the 49ers in terms of depth outside of Verrett and outside of Mosley. There's questions behind that. Well, you're all going to get your opportunities. With Mosley being on the COVID list right now, you're going to have your chance. You got to make the most of it.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting to watch these guys have opportunities. I know I want to see Ebukam go against these offensive tackles. I want to see it. I want to see where he's at. The first step is supposed to be very good. I watched him a little bit on the sled, and he was beating Nick Bosa. I don't think Bosa's going 100% yet, but he's definitely out there flying. He's figuring it out. So that's going to be exciting to watch. There's just little things that are exciting. But right now through the install process, we've had the offense running a particular thing, right? You know that they're putting in this in install, they're putting this in install, they're putting this in install.
And now they're getting to the
right.
outside the pocket play action stuff.
Right, and the defense knew the offense was putting in this and putting in this because they were putting in stuff too. So they had an idea. Now, once they have everything installed, when we get later into this week and everything is installed, then you don't know which play is coming. You don't know which coverage is coming, which blitz is coming, and it's going to be a little bit more of a better idea of what to expect from these guys running the ball, throwing the ball, playing, running your routes, your choice routes. Everything's going to be a lot different.
It goes from, a simulated sort of chess game, simulated chess match where everything's scripted, you know what's coming, to an actual chess match. The defense doesn't have set pre-moves they're going to do. They may show you something, you're like, oh, it's this opening right here, and really it's something else entirely. So this now goes from a scripted dance that they were doing to live.
Yeah.
Live football.
It's the lambada, baby.
You gotta love it.
The forbidden dance.
The forbidden dance. The Fountain of Troy. It's prohibidado. I don't know if you knew that. It's prohibidado. You're not supposed to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're going to get into all this stuff. And that's why it was a little hard to judge everything off week one, right? That's what we said. Honest assessment, Niners are right where they need to be. This is the week where we're going to get a little bit more in-depth as far as being able to understand where we're at. And we also get to cap off this week by being there and witnessing it ourselves. So we're going to be able to see that practice at Levi Stadium, and we're going to be able to, kind of cap off the week and give a really in-depth analysis on what we see in the progression and another honest assessment about where they're at. Have the 49ers progressed far enough or not, and how are these players looking? That's exciting. I know one little thing I'm going to be looking forward to is Jalen Moore playing tackle, because we heard, it was going to be guard. Now he's playing tackle. Could he take that swing tackle spot? Maybe he could. That's going to be exciting to watch and see what the future of the 49ers offensive line looks like.
Agreed. It's going to be extremely exciting. Saturday cannot get here fast enough.
It can't.
It really can't. We're really looking forward to everything that we're going to be able to break down once we're at training camp. Make sure you're following us on all the socials, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, right? Whether it's Twitter, whether it's here on YouTube. Make sure you're following us at all the socials, because you never know. We may go live on one of them and not the other and just not say anything and just give you a little short snippet. So you want to be on all of our socials, be engaged in the content that we have coming out. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, a lot of build-up and hype leading up to this Saturday when we'll be at Levi Stadium for training camp in pads fully. And then just a few days after that, Tuesday back at training camp, and a few days after that, Thursday back at training camp. And then a nice Friday live stream to wrap it all and package all the wonderful training camp goodness that we had in store for you during that week.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of content to go over, a lot of great 49ers conversation coming out of training camp. We're going to be here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. I'm excited about the football season. I'm excited about where the 49ers are at right now. I'm not excited for too many maintenance days, but they are normal and natural, and they're going to happen. But I'm looking forward to getting out there and watching this in person. It's going to be exciting, so look forward to those videos coming later in the week.
It's going to be a great couple of weeks. The next few weeks are going to be super hype, and then we're going to have preseason games and all that fun stuff to talk about. It's just building, folks. Football season is here. It's in full force. It's the best time of the year.
Yep.
I cannot wait for more of it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video. Share it with the rest of the faithful. Make sure you go to 49ers Cutback Shop. Get yourself some TCC merch, some 40 freaking Niners merch, and your training camp 2021 shirts today. Training camp shirts just through training camp, so you got a limited amount of time. Make sure you go cop that. Rep your 49ers. Rep the 49ers Cutback. And until next time, 49ers fans, you stay safe.
And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.